reply straight away. But we want a hell of an interview if that comes off.
It'd be, we'll all be fighting to go on that, but obviously you get dibs on that. It seems Definitely. Though you set it up.
Definitely. It was just one of them where I just took a stab in the dark and just thought, you know what, if he sees it, he sees it. If he don't, no love lost. And then when he replied, I was like, what?
Yeah, that is amazing. Right, let's get to the page so then I can see comments coming in. And let's go with that. Okay. All right. We are now live. Good evening, everyone. If it's evening for you, it's just turned midday for me here in Portland, Oregon. So me and Dan, City says Tom Brunt here, but I'm just using Tom's account, City Dave, but you probably already know that, and Dan. We were just talking a few minutes ago about this expected now Torres deal, and we thought, why don't we just jump on live for half an hour and just kind of go through this with Torres and answer any questions you might have, and maybe talk about another couple of other transfers. So I think really the big news today, Blues, is it looks like we've got this Torres deal over the line. I don't know a massive amount about him. I was very concerned about the expected money that Valencia wanted, which I thought was a surprise. Seems though he was in the last year of his contract, and Valencia are hurting for money right now. But it sounds like Tixi has done us quite a good favour here, that we've got a little bit of a cost up front of around 20 million. I know Valencia, I know Valencia wanted, around 35, 40, and it sounds like it could go to that. Yeah. But that's going to be a lot based on, appearances. I think, getting himself established in the Spanish senior squad. And when it's a deal like that, Dan, for me, I'm totally happy with, basically because it means he now has to prove himself at Manchester City. And if he proves himself, it means that we've got a world-class player, and I'm then happy to pay out more money. It was the 35, 40 million up front, which was really doing my head in. So, I'm going to pass this over to Dan, because Dan actually watches a lot of La Liga, and he's got a good eye for this player already. So, Dan, what are we going to get with this player?
Well, we talked about him probably maybe about three months ago when the rumours started to surface. He has pretty much been a well established first team player for the past 2.5 seasons. He broke into the team age 17 and just quickly made a name for himself. One thing I will say is, albeit he's a winger, many people are getting a bit miffed of whether he'll be as attacking as Sane, because obviously he's being linked as being the replacement for Sane. I don't see it as that, because Torres is not a goal getter that has to be cleared up straight away. He's not someone who will run in on goal. But the work ethic and the amount of work he does with the ball in terms of team play and finding the right pass is, if I'm perfectly honest, very much on par with David Silva. His passing ability, his dribbling ability, the ability to find the man in space, the perfect through balls, he's got it. And when he does have a chance to go for on goal, he does take it. Not clinical, but he's only 20 years old, so he can really prove it. And I was saying to you, Dave, beforehand, I see him being a much bigger and more important player than Leroy Sané.
Wow, that's a big statement, and we all know that Sané wasn't the finished article when he moved to us, and I think he was the same age, right? He was 19 or 20 when he
19 or 20, yeah.
And Arteta and Kidd and Guardiola, I think, built Sané into the player that he is now, and now hopefully we're going to do the same thing with Torres by the sounds of it, that he's got all the ability. Can we turn that into a few more goals? I think is what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of them players that is just a good team away from being the finished article. He is very much their most important player of the past season. He's the man who makes it happen. He may not get in with the goals, but he's the catalyst for that attacking mid. And I think with the likes of Raheem Sterling, the likes of Bernardo Silva, De Bruyne, that attacking midfield / winging style, I think he'll learn a lot. He'll get a lot more experience. And I think if the way Pep's transformed Sterling into this massive goal getter, I mean, I put the stat out there. It's the first time any City player other than Sergio Aguero has scored 30 goals in a season for City since Sean Goater back in the 2001-2002 season. So, and when Sterling scored, I mean, I think we can all agree he couldn't really score in a brothel, could it really?
No.
So hopefully, yeah, Pep can work wonders with Torres, and with the likes of players he's got around him, there's no reason the sky's the limit for the lad. There's no ceiling on his career when he comes to City. To City.
And the other thing that I quite like about this, going back to the money, is that this isn't 60, 70 million where we're thinking that he has to go straight into the team. That we've talked about many, many times as well, that it takes a year for a Guardiola player or purchase to bed into the team. So I think this means as well that he is. I don't think we can expect Blues that this guy's going to start in a blue shirt on September the 12th and be a starter. I think he's going to be eased in and get the odd game, because I mean I can't see him replacing a Mahrez or a Sterling, or if we ever get Jesus out on the wing. What do you think about that?
I think. I never remember. Is it Valencia or Villarreal? I always get them mixed up. It's Valencia, isn't it? Yeah, of course it is.
Valencia,
yeah. When you look at Valencia's team, they've not really got any star-studded players in his position. So when he first broke into the team, he had it cemented in essence. I do honestly believe, personally, when he breaks into the City team, he'll be miles better than what Mahrez can produce on the right. Don't get me wrong, I'm not like Laney. I do rate Mahrez. I think he's come on leaps and bounds this season compared to last season, which was pretty poor. So I can only go so far by saying how good Mahrez has been this season. But personally, if Torres was to start the first game of the season ahead of Mahrez, I think Mahrez would be the one that Torres has looking over his shoulder. The lad, I guarantee it. Anybody watching this, anybody who watches Ferran Torres, who've seen him play, when he breaks into this City team, it will take a minor miracle for a player to keep the form up to replace him. I honestly believe that. And for going back to what you said about the transfer fee as well, 24.5 million, that is, I'd be hesitant to say that's a steal from us. I know there's the talks of it being 8 to 13 plus million and add-ons performance rated, but like you said, he's got to prove himself to do that. So if he fails, then we'll probably still get that price back for him. But if he doesn't, yeah, I don't see him flopping, to be fair.
Yeah, I think this is. I'm happy about this now. I think it was the money that was just annoying me a little bit. That Valencia just seems so hell-bent on getting this 35 to 40 million for a player in the last year of his contract, and Valencia are always hurting for money, as we know. That I just wanted us to be a bit more forceful in our negotiations, and it sounds like Tixie's pulled one out this time around. So let's hope that we can do the same with other transfers, hopefully coming in. I think, Dan, the biggest signing that I think that we need to make this summer is Pep Guardiola. I know we've got the whole talk about centre-backs and all that kind of stuff. Me and Laney have kind of been saying for a while that we do not think that Guardiola is going to stay more than the next 12 months. However, and I know probably Laney's listened to this, I get this real feeling now that if I was Torres, I would be turning around to Guardiola and saying, look, I'll sign for you and I really want to play under you, but I'm not going to sign a 6-year deal for then you to bugger off in 12 months. Something tells me that the players that we're going to bring in now are going to want some assurance from Guardiola that is actually going to stay a little while, and we're not going to have a new manager in the next 12 months. Do you think this is maybe a little bit of a sign that Guardiola is going to sign on for a bit longer?
If I give my honest opinion, even before the Torres signing, and I'd go as far to say before the Yankuto signing, I honestly believe Pep would extend his stay in the first place. I don't see him as being that type of manager that would leave his own contract and his own feelings about whether he wants to still manage City get in the way. He did the same for Bayern. When he wanted to leave Bayern, we knew well before. I mean, Bayern's Bayern. It's not. There's only one team in that league, so you would get bored. City is not that. One season we have past 2 seasons we've had a world-class season and we've won the title on both. Guardiola's had his backside spanked this season. He'll want to come back and hit the ground running and find that dominant presence that he honestly believed he was building and in essence did build. I think it's just too many things have gone against us this season in terms of injuries. Could throw VAR in there, but we won't go on to that. Just the media and everything like that. But to go back to the player signings in Pep, Torres said that Guardiola was the biggest factor in, because I know he hasn't signed yet, but Torres has been on talk that the only reason he really wants to push and move through to City is because of Pep. And I believe the same was said about Yankuto. Pep was the biggest factor about signing for City. And I don't see him going anywhere. I honestly don't. I think he's building now a younger team that is going to challenge for the Premier League next season and the next few seasons beyond if he gets the right players in. And if all the players at the similar age come with the same caliber as Ferran Torres, we're going to be dominant without a doubt.
Yeah, which I dare mention, but this is exactly what old Baconface did as well. Every 3-4 years, it was surprising some of the players that he sold. The Inces and Kanchelskis and Nistelrooy and Stam. But in hindsight, when you look back, he did it for a reason. He did it to refresh the squad and keep those legs fresh and bring in new tactics, new ammunition, and he was winning. How many Premier Leagues did he win? 13 in 25 years or something like that. I think you could be right. I think he's trying to build a bit of a dynasty here. And I think I said when we were buying these young players, I think when he brought Jesus in, I said, I'd be surprised with Pep if he didn't want to see these players flourish. Why bring them in and then go, right, see you, I'm off? And I think I kind of keep hearing that he does want to manage at the national level, but he's such a Catalonian at heart. We all know that. I can't see him managing the Spanish team. I might be completely wrong there because he played for Spain. I get that, but I think he almost might want to just manage Catalonia and just see if he can. This is like an Andorra or a San Marino or something, right? They're this tiny little nation, so to speak, but they've got their own national team. And bloody hell, if anyone can make them a little bit of a force, it's Pep Guardiola. But I still don't think that's the time for him. I think you're right, Dan. I think he's got this project and he's bringing Yankuto. He's got that other, is it Peruvian or Chilean that he's brought in, this 16, 17-year-old? Torres in.
His name, but
I mean, and we talk about Foden as well. Apparently his nickname at City is Pep's boy.
Yeah.
I will be amazed if Pep Guardiola doesn't want to see how far Phil Foden can go in the game. I'll be amazed if he leaves that and goes, okay, I'm going to leave it to someone else. So anyway, that's my big signing, Pep Guardiola. Dan, who do we want? Positions and names.
Well, I think one of the main positions I said got about 2-3 months ago was left back. And I was quite set on the idea of Alejandro Grimaldo. He wasn't linked with City. He hasn't been linked with City since. But the past few signings I've been talking about, such as Ruben Diaz and John Stones to Leeds, they all seem to be coming slightly true in terms of rumours. Obviously, nothing's gone on from that. And Grimaldo was one of them that I'd love to see at City. I think he was the type of player that would fit into Pep's system. And I wasn't his biggest fan prior to the past two games, but I think Cancelo could start to make a name for himself at left back, which would ease Pep's mind a bit. If Cancelo hits the ground running and stays as a left back, he can really do it. Which then frees up the right back spot for Yankuto to come in, and that's two positions that are filled by players we've already got in the club now. Centre back is a much needed position. I don't think anyone can argue that. It looks like John Stones could possibly be going to Leeds on loan for the season. Whether Otamendi stays, might just sign another year. I personally don't see it. Obviously, Nathan Ake's been heavily rumoured with us for a £35 million deal. I don't want that to go through personally. I've never been the biggest fan of Ake. I mean, he's been relegated in a team. I think it was what Laney said. His job as a centre-back is to stop conceding goals. And I know it's a team game, but if you're failing to do your primary objective, you're not good enough. And if you get relegated, you're definitely not good enough. And if Ake came in, I just see him being a backup, and we want to be, as much as we all want to see Garcia staying in that first team, we still need another, maybe not world class, but a very good centre back to mix the three between Laporte, Garcia, and said decent centre back. So I'd go in for Skriniar. He's obviously been heavily linked. He's our number one target. It was Koulibaly, but I don't think that's ever going to happen. And I think that centre back's the only real problem, other than striker. And for me, I've talked about this. Tom Brunt obviously doesn't agree with me. I still think Jesus should be pushed out to the left wing, which would then also, even with Ferran Torres in, that's the left wing spot sorted out. I think Jesus will be world class at left wing. If he gets a full season at left wing, he'd make a name for himself much more than he has done for centre forward. And then I would go in for Andrea Bellotti of Torino. The lad is 26 years old, 26 years old. And we could probably get him for maximum 40 million at a push. But he's a goal-getter, and he's built very much like Sergio Aguero, height-wise as well. But Bellotti is an absolute beast in the air. He's scored headers after header after header after header. And I think he's probably one of them missing strikers, because it's like Laney also said, there's not many strikers out there at the moment. And I think Bellotti, I think Bellotti is the only one that could really do a job for us. So if I was Pep and I was Tixie, Bellotti is the man we should be going after.
Yeah, I think we might get a couple of curveballs here, because I agree with you. We keep hearing about Ake, we keep hearing about Koulibaly. The Diaz talk has completely worn away, and it really wouldn't surprise me if that's what City do. I mean, how much have we really heard about Rodri before that was our big signing last year? That I think that we might get a curveball here. Tixie's gone on record now as saying, look, the league's back on September the 12th. We're going to be playing on hopefully through a little bit of August. Yeah. And then there's going to be pre-season. We want to get these players in. So I think it's going to be quite busy for us really over the next couple of weeks. And I like to think with City that some things do fall under the radar. And yeah, it's not going to be Koulibaly, who I don't want at 29 years of age for $1 million. Skriniar could be a good bet. But I keep hearing that they want Jesus in part exchange, and I don't want him going anywhere. So I'm kind of hoping it's going to be a world-class centre-back who's just a little bit under the radar right now. I know you would be incredibly happy if it was Diaz. Yeah. I read last night that a couple of people have mentioned about Upamenko. I've read last night he's signing a new contract with Leipzig. So Upamenko, he's at Leipzig.
Upamecano.
Yeah,
Upamenko.
The 21-year-old at Leipzig, French guy. He is apparently going to sign a new contract with Leipzig, which would suggest to me he either is gunning for a move to Bayern Munich in 1 or 2 years' time, or he's gunning for a move. He's French. He's gunning for a move to a Juventus, or if AC Milan kind of get to where they were before. Can't see that happening. Haaland, you and I have talked with Laney many, many, many times about this.
Mm-hmm.
Would I like him at City? Yes, I would, but he's had half a season at Dortmund.
Yeah.
He needs to prove himself there. And then secondly, I just don't think I think he's Real or Barca bound. I really do. I can't see him ever been in a City shirt. I just can't see it.
Do you know who I see him going to eventually? Juventus. I don't think Ronaldo will be there within 2 seasons' time. Ronaldo's that type of player that when he starts to be the main man constantly, and I think he gets a bit bored, if anything. He was on top of his game at Real before signing for Juventus. I just think he'd maybe probably either get a last-ditch move back to United. That's a pipe dream, maybe. Or he may even hang up his boots, which I don't see. But a team like Juventus or Barca, because Messi is going to start entering that stage where they're going to have to look for a world-class player to replace Messi, because as soon as he's out of that Barca squad, they're arguably going to be knocking up front bar Suarez, but even he's coming to the end of his tether. Haaland is easily a Barcelona player. He's built for it. I have to agree. I don't ever see him. He's obviously a City fan, but I just don't ever see him being a City player.
No.
Which is a shame. I'd have him.
I know with this photos of him in a City shirt, but that doesn't mean anything. His dad played for Leeds. His dad played for City. His dad played for Forest.
Yeah.
It was Nottingham Forest and probably a couple of clubs back in Norway. And there's probably pictures of him in those shirts as well. I don't think there's any proof that he is actually a Manchester City fan. I think we can only say is his dad used to play for City and he went and used to go to games. That's about as far as it goes. I just can't see him being ever a City player. We've got some comments here, Dan, and I'll try and go through a few here. So problem with me for Skriniar, this is Toby Lee. Problem with me with Skriniar, had an average season. De Vrij, however you say it, had a better season. Lloyd Samuels, thank you, Lloyd, because you are always on these calls with us and we appreciate it. Torino had a nightmare season, so it looks like Belotti will be looking to leave. What else have we got here? We've got Italians seem to be more likely to struggle in the Premier League. I do agree with that to a point, but if we go back to my university days, when the White Feather, Ravanelli, played for Middlesbrough got relegated that season. I was at University of Teesside for my sins. So we were there when Brian Robson was manager and he brought in all these wonderful players, Juninho and Ravanelli. Ravanelli scored 31 goals that season for a relegated club. So I think Italians can make it work. And I always think, well, what are the players around them?
Yeah. Well, Belotti is a goal getter in a very poor Italian team. You throw De Bruyne, you throw Sterling, you throw Mahrez, you throw Bernardo Silva, you even throw Foden in that mix, he's gonna get goals. I guarantee. I know it's a pipe dream. I've always liked Belotti. I followed him for about 3 or 4 seasons now. The way he's just come up. If we do have any interest in him, if Pep's listening to this, Tixie's listening to this, if we do get him, I guarantee you he will score goals. He can easily get 30 goals a season plus, easily.
Yeah, we've had a couple more mentions here of, and I think he's Chelsea bound, to be honest, from what I've heard. This Tagliafico, who's at Ajax, he's a left back. Very, very good player. I know Chelsea are spending money hand over fist right now. I know we've not been linked with him. It's not to say that we might not put in a cheeky bid for him. And who else have we got? Someone is mentioning Lewis Cooper. Alaba is in the last year deal at Bayern in talks, but no deal agreed. Put in a cheeky offer. I mean, we know Pep Guardiola is a massive fan of Alaba because he's so versatile. He can play basically anywhere in defence and in midfield. It's not a bad shout because he likes that versatile player. So we'll have to watch that space on that one.
The thing with Alaba, though, he is a wide defensive player, i.e. left back. If Cancelo does stay left back, he's going to have to fill in more centre back / defensive mid role, and we've got plenty of defensive mid roles. And if we're going to go for a player like Alaba at centre back, then I think our thoughts are elsewhere. We should be going for an actual proper centre back rather than a makeshift one. We've suffered too many seasons now with makeshift players and makeshift positions. I think we need a player for their position, and Alaba won't be it for me. I like him, but not for what we need.
Yeah. So I'm probably saying your name wrong. So a Grupa Buck. And yeah, I apologize. I should have mentioned this as the Italian who really did make a difference in the Premier League, Gianfranco Zola. Absolutely, what a player he is. So yeah, I think Italians can succeed. Look at the players again that Zola had around him. And I think if Dan, is right here and we were to go in for a Belotti, then that is definitely someone who would do well in Manchester City colours, in my opinion. We seem to have lost Dan from the... Oh, no, you are still there. You were gone and now you're back.
Yeah, man, it's a new phone. I'm getting used to all these notifications and trying to get rid of them. I keep getting rid of myself. I'm probably doing everyone a favour, but
Christophons, will KDB sign a 5-year deal? Cass is now out of the way. We're bringing in new players. I will be very, very surprised if he doesn't sign a new 5-year deal, to be perfectly honest. Who's the Barca kid who came into the team this year really young? That's Ansu Fati, Lloyd Samuel. And yeah, be nice to have at Manchester City, but I can't see Barcelona letting him go, to be fair. I think we've got more chance of getting Messi than we have of Fati, to be perfectly honest.
Apparently, that's every season.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's one I want to put out for you in terms of the striker position. I think it was either Halifax or Laney. It might actually be you. Troy Deeney. In fact, I think it was Tom. Would you, obviously, we're trying to find that goal getter who can score headers, he's just a bit different, somebody who will just get the ball and put it in the back of the net. Relegated Watford, Deeney's not sure. He's, 30 years old now?
30, would you have him
would you have him for a couple of seasons? I think he'd do quite well. And he's a captain material, and he's English.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the influence of Giroud on the Chelsea team and the Arsenal team and the French team who won the World Cup. He didn't bloody score a goal, but he was that, as Deschamps said, he was that important to the overall team of how they wanted to play and setting up other people. Why wouldn't we go? We never had that battering ram up front since Dzeko, really. Someone who can just get in people's faces and wind other strikers up. Look what Deeney did to the Liverpool team. He completely wound them up. Get him in for for 5 million and have him battering these teams when the chips are down. And he can score goals. I don't think he's ever missed a penalty, Troy Deeney. I'd definitely have him at Manchester City just for something absolutely different. If we're not going to go for a Belotti or Haaland or whoever it might be, why not give something else a little bit of a try, Pep, and have a battering ram who can play football and bring you Torreses and Sterlings and De Bruyne's, etc. into the game, who will get you those 15, 20 goals a season. Yeah. I don't think it's a bad shout.
No. What about another one? Personally, I'm not a fan of it, but I've heard it mentioned. Callum Wilson of Bournemouth. He's 27. He'll be very, very cheap. I think he's entering his last year at Bournemouth. I don't think he's anywhere near the caliber of Deeney, but he's still one of them players that's quite good in the air. But he is injury prone, so I think he's maybe a pipe dream. But it's these teams that have been relegated, they have got some good players in the mix. There's Watford especially. They've got Decore, very good midfielder. They've got Delafeu, very good player. These teams have players that could easily make a difference in the top 6 teams. Just if they played right.
I totally agree. What have we got here? Deeney would be okay, but he'd have to realise he'd only be brought on with 10 minutes to go if we are struggling.
I think he'd accept that.
I don't think he'd mind that.
No.
I don't. Christoph Fons, this is him. Deeney is a dog. We could do with his dog mentality. That's kind of what we're saying, Krista, to be perfectly honest, of just having that little bit of, rather than this intricate passing and pass, and, which
someone
is
who just take it.
Sometimes you need a battering ram, with that horrible saying of, going to Stoke on a rainy Tuesday night. You kind of need, you don't need pretty football. You just need to get the result. And Troy Deeney's the sort of player sometimes with nice players around him.
Yeah,
he could get those results. It's not the worst idea. But Toby Lee says, hell no. Well, okay.
Everyone's got their opinions.
Overpriced. Did you see that Martinez goal he scored for Inter Milan last night?
Oh, God. I saw the goal, but I'm still against him coming to City. I think he's a wimp. Absolute wimp.
I think he's Barca bound. I mean, it looks like Barca have put something like 16 players on the transfer list or something. They're just trying to raise the money basically for bringing him in. I can't see Martinez in a City shirt, and I don't think Toby Lee that we would pay the 100 million plus for him in the first place. Dan Wayne, this one will be for you, Mr. Fielden. Harry Kane.
Oh, God, no.
Harry Kane at City.
Oh, dear. No, not even. I mean, everyone's got their own opinions. I thoroughly believe Kane would, in essence, destroy this City team. Spurs, I've always believed Spurs play so much better when Kane's not in the team. You've seen it. You saw it in the Champions League final. I think it was Lucas Moura who played absolutely fantastic in the semi-final. Dropped for Kane. Kane didn't score. I don't think he even had a shot. I think he had one shot all game. Why? I think it's just a personal opinion. Don't get me wrong. He's a great player. He knows how to find the back of the net. I just don't think he's a City player, personally.
I don't either. And, as I've been complaining about transfers over the last few weeks and, having, I've forgotten his name now, the Dan Levy doing the transfer negotiations. I mean, he'll want at least, even in this market, 150 million for Harry Kane, at least. And City aren't going to pay that. There's no way. I think there's only probably Juventus, who seem to have money to burn, and PSG, who would probably at this stage be willing to pay that kind of money. So I don't expect to see Harry Kane in a City shirt anytime soon.
One Spurs player that has been mentioned, he's 33, but he could do for a season, is Jan Vertonghen. He's obviously now a free transfer after leaving Spurs. Could he, I suppose if we bring in Vertonghen, he would be one of them that we want in more first team action motive, so we'll still be wanting a world-class centre-back. So what do you think of?
I've always been interested with things like this, that when you have a fellow Belgium at the club already, and, I'm talking about De Bruyne here, who has played with Vertonghen, obviously, for the national team. I've always wondered, do managers go to these players who, we've got experience, hey, Kevin, I'm thinking of bringing, Jan in and having a chat with him. What's your thoughts on him? Could he do a couple of seasons at City, of being, that backup to Laporte and Garcia and helping coaching, the Harwood Bellises, etc. I've always wondered if managers actually do that, or if it's very much no, it's my choice, and I'm not going to get opinions from anyone else. Personally, I would take Jan Vertonghen if he was willing to take that role of being an understudy to our centre backs. You don't play for Belgium and Tottenham and Ajax without a really good pedigree. He's obviously a decent player. Yeah, he slowed down a bit, but so did Company.
Yeah.
We all adore him. If we can't get a deal over the line for a Koulibaly or for a Diaz or for a Skriniar or Aki or whatever, why not take a punt on bringing someone in the short term who can cover the cracks a little bit, who's been there and done it already.
Yeah. Particularly in the Premier League. Yeah, he knows he can do it. Obviously, he's had a bad season this season, but he's Spurs have not really had the best of seasons themselves, so I don't think we can fully put the blame on him. But we were talking about, weren't we, like the Bonucci style player, an old person who's not going to be old by football terms, who's going to come in and sort of coach Garcia a bit more as well as Howard Bellis. We all want Garcia to be first choice with Laporte. I think you'll find any blue who disagrees with that doesn't believe in Garcia. Again, that goes down to opinions. Some people do. And I think someone like Vertonghen, he's got the experience, like you said. He knows the league. If Garcia or Laporte was out for a while, he could easily fill in the void. Obviously, he's not the quickest, so he'd be more of that sitting back centre back, but he's very good in the air. He's scored a few goals from Tottenham at set pieces. Yeah, I wouldn't personally go for him as first choice of that style player and that age and what have you, but I wouldn't put it past.
Yeah, agreed. We've got I don't know if you want me to answer this or you. So John Nolan says, "Come on, lads, what are you waffling on about? Kane not a City player, but Deeney is? ? Laugh out loud." I think really, John, the point that we're making is that Deeney would just give us that bit of an option of being that battering ram up front. We wouldn't be expecting him to be scoring 30 goals a season. It just gives us that different option, and something I think we can all agree that we've been lacking pretty much since Pep came, that we have our option A, and when option A works really well, pass and move, it's great. But we've seen this season when teams come out and defend against us and then hit us on the break, we've struggled. And that's the only reason we're saying Deeney might not be a little bit of a punt. Not saying that Kane wouldn't be a City player, but 150 million, that's all we're saying. That would we really do that? We could need a veteran defender with all the experience that can teach a player like Stones. That's Christopher Fons again. That's basically what we're saying. Laney, if you want a cheap forward, what about Ollie McBurney? That's just your Swansea roots talking there, Laney. Surely.
I think it's his clothing range that he's taking appreciate to.
Yeah.
Can see Laney dressing up as Ollie McBurney any day, though, with hats and all sorts. Anything to cover that.
I think we used to have, Steve Browning, who was the agent for Lewis Dunk, and now we've got Laney acting as the agent for Swansea players. That's the only thing I can put that down to.
Those poor Swansea fans.
Yeah. Let me see if we've got anything else. Yeah, quite a few people are agreeing here about. Oh, I mean, that's a really good shout. Jocelyn Sims here. I don't think they'd sell him under any circumstances, but Son from Tottenham, I think he's a brilliant player.
Yeah. I think we'd be looking at a very similar fee to Kane if you're going Son, if not probably more. He's another versatile player, and he can play in midfield. He can play on the wing, primarily left wing. And yeah, he knows how to find the back of the net as well. I still remember, was it this season or last season, he scored that absolutely world-class goal from his own penalty box, dribbled it by about, five opposition players, and then found the back of the net. Yeah, if we went in for him.
That one match of the day goal of the season as well. I think De Bruyne came in. De Bruyne's one against Newcastle came in second.
Right. Was that the season before last, was it?
No, that was this season. Or the season just finished. Yeah.
Oh, right. Oh, well, yeah.
It just seems weird, right? Because we had a 3-month break between it.
Yeah. It feels like 2 seasons, really. I've still not really got my head around it. But no, going back to Son, yeah, if we sign Son, I'd be over the moon. But you're looking at a very, very big fee for him.
Yeah, that would be massive, but a wonderful player. It's a good, really good shout there. Christopher Fons, again, thank you, Krista. Krista, you're doing a lot of comments here. We had 37 crosses into the box to Jesus, who is 5'9" on a good day. We need somebody in the air that can be dominating in the air. And honestly, Krista, that's all we're saying about Deeney. That if he wants a new challenge and just having something different up front, he's never played for a club of our stature, or players of our stature around him. Who's to say that putting him in a City shirt, he wouldn't bang in 15, 20 goals and give Aguero a break? And number two, give us just a little bit of a different tactic when we're struggling in games. That's all me and Dan are saying. Kane would see himself. Yeah, Bruce makes a really good point here, Dan. Kane would see himself as the main man.
Yes.
He is not humble enough and would disrupt the team ethos.
Yeah, absolutely. Who put that, sorry?
That was a Bruce McLennan.
Bruce is absolutely spot on in my eyes. That was my biggest worry. He'd come in and it's like going back to what I said about Spurs. Spurs playing much better as a team when Kane's not in there. Kane is that single player. He wants the ball. If he sees an other goal, he'd rather go for it rather than looking what's around him. City aren't that type of team. We're that team that finds the balls, the play. We like that sort of play. We don't have just one target man. Aguero hasn't been doing it since Guardiola's been. Aguero's been tracking back so much more, picking the ball up in midfield, working as a team, finding that wide pass or that forward pass, and then running. Kane would never do that, ever. So, yeah, Bruce is absolutely spot on in my eyes.
Yeah. So, Frank Lane, this is one for Laney again. We've already had one donkey from Swansea and Wilfred Boney. We don't want another.
Spot on.
So what does Dave Halliwell says here? We haven't played a target man since Eden. It's not Pep style. Mendy's surely on his way, and he's the only one who slings those crossing in that require a target man. Yeah, what we're saying here, Dave, is that this season has shown that when we only have one way of playing, that teams are now recognizing that, and we've lost games that we should have won this season. The Wolves is the one that always sticks in my mind, that they just got their tactics exactly right because we didn't score. They just caught us twice. Adam Traore just had a worldie that day. Yeah. And all we're saying is that a Troy Deeney or an Edin Dzeko would give Pep, if he was not so just headstrong, just that little bit of a different option when option A isn't working. Let's bring on a Deeney or a Dzeko type of player who can mix things up a little bit.
Yeah. One thing I'll say about that, I've heard everybody, I think I'm guilty of that in the past as well, saying Pep's just got that style of play where he doesn't like a big striker type thing who can't head the ball in. I thoroughly believe now that that's not the case. If it was the case that it's not Pep's style of having that type of striker, we won't be having that many crosses or lofted balls in from corners or just in open play like Mendy where it's high and above everybody. We wouldn't have that. Both our strikers, and Aguero and Jesus, are tiny compared to other opposition team strikers and defenders. It doesn't make sense that Pep would keep telling his players to keep doing these crosses if his idea isn't that he wants someone on the end of him, because it isn't working the way he's doing it. I think the target man is the one thing missing from Pep's ultimate plan. You have someone like Deeney, you have a Dzeko style player in there, we'd be scoring easily well over 100 goals a season because we have that option. And we're not necessarily saying that, I think Dave will probably agree with me with this, where we sign a player just on his heading ability and he's just there to hold up the ball or he's just there to stand in a penalty box and hope a ball comes in. I'm not saying that. Deeney is the type of player that would make stuff happen. He would drop back. He will find the ball. He'll do very much what Aguero has been doing the past few seasons. He will be that versatile striker, but he can do the jobs that we're lacking.
Yeah. And my head's just gone to Anthony Joshua now, because obviously Troy Deeney is best mates with Anthony Joshua, and that would be nice to a Joshua Fury fight at the Etihad Stadium. Fury giving Joshua a good battering. I would love that. That would be great. I'm going to boxing now. Halifax will appreciate that. Me and Halifax are big boxing fans. So, all right, let's see if they've got any more comments here before we can get. Do we need to? So Dave is saying, I do get that. We do tend to try and walk it in mostly, but what I'd like to see is players is having a dig from further out. Get your head down and lace the thing.
Yeah.
Vincent Kompany style. Yeah.
I think
the only player who really does that on a consistent basis is probably De Bruyne.
Yeah.
He'll have a punt. We know Mahrez will have a punt, but that's because he's greedy. But yeah, I agree with you there, Dave, that we need to put our lace through it a little bit more than we did.
And we have got the players that can do that. We've got Rodri, who can bullet a ball in. You give him acres of space outside that penalty box. He will find a target. Whether it's the back of the net is a different question, but he will. Gundogan, not his biggest fan, but when he has a good shot, he can lever it as well. And yeah, De Bruyne as well. We have the players that can do it. I think there is a stubbornness side of Pep's ideas that he doesn't. You see these players who have them types of shots and they go wayward. He absolutely ignites in flames, doesn't he? He hates that style of thing. But if we've got the players that can do it, have 3 or 4 types of them shots a game. Who's to say it won't find the back of the net?
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to talk very briefly 2 more here, Dan, before we wrap this up. Lee Walwork is suggesting Ben Godfrey from Norwich. I'm hearing a lot about him, maybe either going to Tottenham or going to a Dortmund or something like that. And then the other one is Laney, thankfully not a Swansea player, Dries Mertens from Napoli. What do we think about those 2?
Ben Godfrey, he's born in York, so I'm the Yorkshire mank, so to speak. I like him, but I wouldn't have him. He's lanky. He's a good defender, but he's like a feather. A slight breeze could blow him over. He's got nothing to him. Personally, I don't think he could win a fight with a paper bag. So personally, I wouldn't have him, but I do like him. So I can understand why other teams would come in for him. Dries Mertens, on the other hand, I think he's one of them players that he's only really made his name for Napoli. If you stick him in another squad, don't get me wrong, he's a great player. I don't think he would have ever done it in England, let alone at City. If I'm perfectly honest, I've only seen snippets of him, and the snippets are good. But other than that, you never really hear about Mertens, and there's probably a reason for that. At Napoli, you heard the likes of Insigne, who's shorter than most other people around the world put together. And the past of Cavani, Hamsink, and Lavezzi, they're the only really big names you've ever heard come out of Napoli in recent years.
Right.
Mertens is one of them. Who's to say? I can't really comment. I don't really know much about him, to be fair.
No. Well, I think, I just read a comment here, and this really, everything that we've been speaking about, Dan, for the last 50 minutes or so, is Grouper Book here. Again, thanks for all your comments, has really hit the nail on the head. We are outscoring the league every season. The problem is defense and a big voice in the dressing room.
Yes.
I mean, he's hit the nail on the head there. This is what we keep saying, that I think we do need another striker option, because Agueri's injuries are catching up with him. We've probably only got him for another season, if that. We need to bring someone in who can start getting used to our style of play, number one. But yes, the problem is defense. And we need that big voice in the dressing room. Dan always points out Fabian Delph, who wasn't our greatest player, but he was a massive voice in that dressing room. And obviously, Captain Vinny, we're never going to replace that, but we've not had that this season. We've seen De Bruyne, who gets incredibly irate and red-faced. and annoyed, but is he the right voice in the dressing room? And David Silva, wonderful player, not a voice. And I completely agree. And I would go back again to a Troy Deeney, who has been the voice of Watford for the last couple of years, not the manager. It's been Troy Deeney. And I'm not saying again that, we should go out and buy him for 25 million, but having that kind of person who's been there and done it and will really be in that dressing room and getting those players riled up, a Deeney or that kind of player would not be a bad shout as far as I'm concerned.
It's echo everything. For me this season, it's been the voice. It's not been defence for me. The facts are there. You know, we're the highest scoring team. We've kept the most clean sheets this season. I think it's just that lack of concentration. Yes, we've lost 9 or 10 games. I can't remember. But the games we've lost and the games we dropped points are lack of concentration. You know, the Norwich game, for example, we could have won that. We could have battered Norwich, but we lost 3-2. Concentration not there. Nobody's having a go at the players saying, look, we've just let in 3 goals. What is wrong with you? Seriously, you're much better than that. And Norwich got relegated. You know, we lost to a team that got relegated quite badly as well this season because we weren't concentrating. There's been too many games like that this season. I think the only reason we've lost is lack of concentration and lack of leadership and a lack of voice as somebody telling them to pull the things out and get on with the game. I think everyone's just been able to breeze through, and I think if you get a big voice in that dressing room, you'll see things shaking up.
Yeah, I completely agree. So we will wrap this up, Blues. We're not confirming that Torres has signed, but every media outlet now is suggesting that this is pretty much a done deal and it's going to be announced pretty soon. We know that we need at least 1 centre-back, if not 2. We know that probably Stones is probably going to go out on loan somewhere, whether that's Newcastle or potentially Leeds. And hey, good luck to him if he does do that. I want to see him back in the England squad. We've got a European Championship next year, and I want us to see us. I'm in my mid-40s, and bloody England haven't won anything. I want us to see us bloody win something. I think we can say we're all excited about Torres. We want a couple of centre-backs in. We need that leader in the dressing room, and maybe we go for a Troy Deeney or someone like that who can have that voice and bring just a little bit of a different aspect to our play. So keep the comments coming, guys. Dan, anything to add?
No, just obviously roll on the Madrid game, and other than that, hope everyone keeps safe, and let's get a few transfers in and start rocking this team back up again. Let's get back to where we're supposed to be, which is at the top.
Exactly. All right. Thanks for joining us, Blues, and we'll talk. I think is there an interview tomorrow? Is that tomorrow?
I think Halifax is on that one, isn't he? I think it's
Halifax. I think he's interviewing AD Mike tomorrow. AD Mike.
That's it. Yeah.
Have fun with that. I'm sure Halifax will post some details about that one too. So thanks for joining us, Blues. City till we die.
Take care, everyone. All the best, Dave.
Bye.